Welcome to managing printers in a Windows 2003 server environment. During this brief video tutorial, I will be covering the steps required to add a printer, a driver, and a port to your Windows 2003 server. The first thing that we want to do is configure your server to be a print server, or verify that your server is already configured to be a print server. To verify this, simply open up Manage Your Server, or your Server Manager window. From there you can clearly see if print server is added. Now if you don't have your print server installed, simply add and remove a role. Click Next. It will scan your server to see what services are installed, and you just simply select your print server and go through the next steps, and it will add that. Mine is already installed, so we're going to move along. Now, to access your print server manager, simply click Start and access it via your administrative tools or your control panel and administrative tools, in case you don't have administrative tools viewable under your Start. So we'll open up administrative tools and go down to our print manager. From here, print manager opens up. The first things that we want to do is make sure that we configure the port that the printer will be connecting to. Now if it's connecting to the local server through a COM port or LPT or USB, you can use one of the existing ports. If not, if it's via network, then we're basically going to select our actions and we're going to add a port. From there we'll select a standard TCP/IP port and we'll follow the steps that are prompted. Printer name or IP, this is the IP address of the port. And then the port name below lists the name. This is the name that will be viewable or visible when you open up your printer configuration, or your port configuration, excuse me. We'll select Next on that. Now it's going through configuring the TCP/IP port. Once the port is configured, we will add a driver and a printer. Now it pops up a dialog box asking if it's a standard device type or a generic card. If you have a specific network card on your device that you know what it is, you can select that. Otherwise, just leave the default setting of generic network card. Select Next. Next thing that will open up will be a verification box. If it opens up. And from this box we simply verify the data. We've got the device IP address, the one that I inputted, the port name, and the adapter type. So we'll go ahead and select Finish on that. We'll close our new printer port dialog. And in our ports, the IP port that we just created is now listed. So we will select our top server. Underneath our actions, we will add a printer. Since we're using a driver that's currently installed on the server, we cancel this. We won't need to install a driver, but if we weren't using an existing driver that was shipped with Windows, we would simply select drivers, and under actions we would select add a driver. And from this point you would put in your disk provided by the manufacturer, the file that you downloaded that contains the driver, and follow the steps to upload the driver to your server. There's just a few simple questions it asks. The first one is what version of Windows, 32-bit or 64. Once you input that, you select Next. This is where you'd select you have a disk and upload the disk or the driver. So we're going to cancel that. Go back to our top level of our print server. Under our actions, we're going to add a printer. So now it pops up our wizard. We'll simply select Next. We're going to select a local printer attached to this computer. We don't want it to detect the printer because we actually don't have a printer So I'm going to select next. Now it's asking if we want to use what port we want to use, or we could also have created a port here. So we're going to come down and select the port that we created and select next. Now our install dialog box pops up as far as what driver we want or what the make of the printer is. So we're going to use one that's already in the system, something simple. So we'll select the Canon BJ20 and select next. It says, do you want to keep the existing driver or use a new one? We'll keep the existing one. The printer name, this is the name that will be viewed, and the shared name. We'll leave the shared name. This would be as if you had location, third floor marketing, second floor sales, and any specific comments. Color printer only, used for whatever department. Select next. And do you want to print a test page to verify that the driver was installed correctly is basically what it's asking. I'm going to select no. Once again, I don't actually have a physical printer. Next, verification window appears, verifying all the data that you've fed it. Select finish. And underneath our printers, we now have the Canon Bubble Jet BJ20 that we can share out and or manage. Thank you for viewing my tutorial on how to create a printer and manage printers in Windows 2003 server environment. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to upload them in the forums listed below.